Hello and welcome to the Schooner Pod, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook and the Big Skin Podcast Network. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me, we got Jameson, we got Ty. Guys, please tell me my microphone did not glitch this time.
It sounds super quiet. It's just I don't know. It's something wherever you change.
So,
Now it's perfect.
It's perfect.
Now it's perfect.
Okay, cool. Damn it! I don't get it. That's
It's
ridiculous.
something with the sound whenever you cut.
That is so irritating. All right, I'm going to just redo the intro because there are 0 people here, and it'll just help me out a little bit. Hello, and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me, we got Jameson, we got Ty, and we are here to talk about yet another eventful Saturday in Norman. Incredibly stressful. OU narrowly squeaks by, beats the West Virginia Mountaineers 16-13 by virtue of a Gabe Burkich game-winning field goal. I believe it. I think OU tweeted this out. It was the first ever walk-off field goal with no time remaining in school history, which is wild. But yeah, Jameson, tempers are at an all-time high with the OU fan base. It peaked twice during the game where "We Want Caleb" chants arose from the student section. First time from the student section, second time spread throughout the stadium. So needless to say, people are stressed. Rosie's stressed. Everyone's upset. Jameson, what camp are you in? Are you freaking out? Is it time to panic, or do you think these were warranted chants?
I'm not panicking just yet because I think it's really positive that we're not playing at home next week. Because if we were playing at home next week, it would be extremely awkward for one. And two, I just don't know how we'd handle it. As fans, our job, is to be loud and support our team. And then the team's job is to play well and, provide us a good, entertaining experience. But whenever we're cheering, "We Want Caleb," that does negative for both sides, because even though you do want that, what is it going to do? Do you think Lincoln Riley is going to listen to you and say, "Wow, these fans know so much"? No, it's some person who probably halfway pays attention to recruiting, knows that Caleb Williams is one of the best quarterbacks coming out of high school, and they watched him a couple games, and they're just moving forward with that. Just because a fan is chanting that is not going to influence Lincoln, and it's only going to negatively impact our whole team psyche, and we saw that all throughout social media.
Exactly. It's clearly caused quite a rift. People are mad. The team is upset about it. But here's the thing. It's not even I don't think it's even very valid criticism overall. It's not completely understood. I get getting upset, but what that was were a bunch of drunk people who were upset. The same people who are probably chanting "F Joe Biden" in the stands. So let's be honest. Like, this isn't exactly like a highbrow critique, and the student section hasn't been the sharpest probably ever. As you know, 2 former students and 1 current student can attest. Let's be honest. There's some dumb stuff that is said and done there quite often. Ty, as said, current student and everything, and you've always been a big backer of the student section and everything. What's your opinion on the chants? What side are you on there?
Yeah, so I will say this is not 100% my sort of personal beliefs, but I think it needs to be said. And it's my opinions on the chanting specifically would have been very different a few years ago. Obviously, with the quarterbacks that we had back then, we wouldn't have been in that situation. But they're not okay. We can use the term student athletes all we want. Like, Spencer Rattler makes a lot of money because of his position. He is by all means a professional. And this is now that it's above table, this is a business making, this is a business venture. The team is there to make money. We don't have to be doing the things that we're doing as a team. It's an entertainment product and it's a money making product. And I mean, that's it at the end of the day. So there is a fair argument there that you're not hurting some, college student that's, a student at OU and has a passion for football and is just playing out of the love of the game, right? That's not why Spencer Rattler is at OU. Spencer Rattler did not grow up like an OU fan. He's not playing. He's literally not playing for free. He's here because he thinks it's where his best chance is at going to the NFL. It's a business for everyone involved. And if you're not meeting the expectations, then you should be, relieved of your position. That's how business works. But I will say, while Rattler is not playing, he's playing well. I don't think he's playing good, and he's not playing up to expectations. He's not playing up to, we've discussed all this stuff. I don't know that Caleb Williams is necessarily a better option, because a quarterback is not just there to throw every time. That's like a very, very low level of football understanding if you think the quarterback's job is to just complete passes. So I don't necessarily know that Caleb Williams is a better option, but I don't think anyone reasonably has any reason to complain. The team is there to provide an entertainment product and to make money. And if they're not doing that, then they have no one to be upset at but themselves, really. Same for the coaching staff, same for everyone involved in the program. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, and I don't think criticism is, the standards are high. This is a fan base that has desperately wanted a title, and one of the most notoriously difficult places to win, or just to keep people happy. Going back as far as the Switzer era, the Wilkinson era, this is a hard fan base to keep happy, and this is the longest drought without a national championship. And when you have all of these expectations, through the roof, that this is going to be the year, and the offense of all things looks as bad as it does, I think people have a right to be upset. But at the same time, we're not in the position where we're not in boo territory yet. I think people are so stressed about it that it seems a little. We're still 4-0. You could be. I would much rather be in this position than say like Clemson, who's barely holding on to a top 25 ranking. And don't get me wrong. I'd rather be Georgia right now, who's steamrolling everyone. But this isn't losing to Baylor, in 2014, where our guys are 10 miles off after we've lost 3 games already. This isn't like this rock bottom scenario, like a Schnellenberger or a John Blake, even. And I'm not saying we should be like just okay with being like a New Year's 6 participant in the playoff. That shouldn't be where Oklahoma should be. I totally agree with that. I just think it seems a little spoiled in a way to be getting upset at a performance that, not great, but it was perfectly fine. 26 for 36 and 256 yards for Rattler, 1 touchdown and 1 interception, which was, as Lincoln Riley brought up, not really his fault. It was a route running issue, but you could debate that because, again, should have probably just not, thrown that ball after noticing Hazelwood, kind of botch the route. But in general, it's disappointing. It's frustrating. And there's just so much room for improvement on that offense.
Yeah, I think it was Stoops that they threw it, and it was to the left sideline. And if we know anything, Rattler's throws deep to the left have been horrible this year, miserable. He's thrown into triple coverage many a times, and he's made that mistake 3 times. I understand this wasn't the exact same that we saw, from Tulane and then we saw in Nebraska, but still, that's just concerning. But here's my thing, and I really, really want to hammer this down in the should we have booed, should we have chanted argument, because a lot of the people are on the side of we shouldn't have done anything. But I think that the chant is a clear line above the booing. I think booing is okay when you've consistently underperformed in 3 of the only meaningful games this year. And even in that 4th game, Spencer Rattler had a lot of flaws that smart fans were pretty kind of disappointed about. So if you boo, you show discontent, but it's not like you're giving up on your team. You're not giving up on Rattler. You're saying, like, I'm not liking the way you're playing, and I'm just showing it. That's my job as the fan. Whenever you do the chant, though, I heard this on the 247 podcast. They said it puts a rift between the fans and the team and amongst the team itself as well, as they have to choose. And internally, should I keep on with Spencer? Should I back him up? Obviously, you should, because he's your leader, and that's who Lincoln decided. But then there's some people that are like, I probably would want to see Caleb Williams go in. And you don't want your team thinking like that. You want your clear leader leading you all together, and not be making that decision any harder. So I think that the chant is egregious and should not have been done, and especially whenever there are recruits there, and we'll talk about that later. But the booing, I think, was why I wouldn't have done it. I see it as an option in this situation, if that's a good way to say it.
I mean, for sure, and at least some, disheartened, grumbles. But by the way, just to kind of clean up my point on that interception, Hazelwood curled back instead of continuing forward, which allowed the safety to, bunch in, and that's what the issue was. Not with he didn't throw it to Hazelwood. But anyways, yeah, I agree, though. I think there's a difference between booing and actively trying to get a quarterback out after 4 games, who, by the way, is on a 10-game winning streak. It's just crazy. But, Ty, I don't think it boils all just down to the quarterback. What are the other issues with the offense that we might be seeing?
Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to talk about the O-line, but I'm going to keep rehammering it because it's just getting worse by the game. I don't know if I'm just becoming more conscious of it, or maybe just because I watched this one. I was not there, so I watched this one from TV, so I had a little bit better view of some of the other stuff that's happening than I would have in the stadium. But just the receiver play, again, it's all the time. I understand, sometimes it's going to happen, sometimes it's not, depending on specific schemes and matchups. But when we went out in a 4-receiver set, almost every time, Drake Stoops and Austin Stogner were lined up as receivers. And it's like, I understand there's sets where we're going to put our tight end out there, and he's kind of the biggest dude that we have that can catch the ball and is a reliable player. But we have a lot of super highly rated receiving recruits that just aren't cutting it. I don't know what the deal is with Mims. I was super high on him. I kind of predicted a breakout season for him and establishment as WR1, which hasn't happened. And, we've seen some great play from our other receivers. We've seen great plays from Hazelwood. We've seen great plays from everyone involved, but it's just not, we're not doing Spencer any favors when we're really lacking in superstar receivers. Cause a lot of people, I think, get really focused on the quarterbacks. I don't think anyone's forgotten any of the big receivers that we've had lately, but a lot of people really forget that Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Jalen Hurts had some really big receivers who are being very successful now at the next level, and were pretty much instantaneously successful when they moved up to the NFL, there to help them. And at this point, I cannot see a single – I'm sure someone will trickle through, but this OU receiving core this year, I cannot see a single one of them going to the NFL at any point unless some crazy things change. And that's a very significant thing. I think that, needs to be addressed. I'm sure one of you guys will discuss the line here, but yeah, the receivers, I think, are being under-discussed, or the underperformance of the receivers is being under-discussed in the media from what I'm seeing.
Classic podcast host.
Classic Bobby.
This dog, I'm not used to podcasting with a dog.
Speechless.
I keep being, accidentally muted. But I agree with you. I think the general populace and the general media, discussion is on the O-line, which is absolutely abysmal. And Beatonbow needs to get that together. But I think you're right. Wide receiver play has been lacking as of late. But Jameson, your thoughts on the wideouts?
So let's break this down on wide receivers, because I think a lot of people have been clamoring for the deep ball. The big stat this past week is, Baker and Kyler led the NCAA in yards per play, and then Jalen Hurts, did really well. And then Spencer last year was like 8th in this season. He's just really, really bad, like not even close. And when it comes down to yards per play, we're not getting big plays. And I'm watching the defense, and I'm realizing the majority of these defenses are playing high safeties and taking away the deep ball, and they're forcing our wide receivers to get open and have good route running and have Spencer squeeze in the ball into these small spaces. The problem is, it's like we've said it before, and I harped it earlier, is our guys, when it comes down to separation, Mario Williams is there. And then other than that, it's more possession wide receivers. Jaden Hazelwood is not laterally quick anymore. He's a back shoulder kind of guy and just, a curl route guy. Mike Woods is quick. He's straight line speed. But when it comes down to getting it open, like off the line of scrimmage, that's not his game. And Marvin Mims, you hope, would be in that position. But like Ty said, I don't know where he is this season, and we're not even playing him that many snaps. So that's why Mario Williams has been doing so well this year, because what he's good at is what is being offered by the defense. And you can't throw the deep ball whenever it's being covered every single time. So what we need to do is play more to what is being given to us, play Mario Williams more, and give Marvin some plays on the outside. See if he can make something there, because we played a lot of him in the slot. So just got to shake something up there. But yeah, let's transition into offensive line, because I feel like it has to be talked about. And I'll pass it on to y'all with a quick little intro statement on my end. I think that the disgruntlement of the offensive line for this game is absolutely warranted. They did not play well. Especially, the left side had a lot of hiccups, but when it came down to it, the left side was the only one able to block for some sort of yardage in the run game after we benched Anton Harrison for Wanya Morris. But they do not deserve the criticism straight up, because they have been throughout this year decent ever since that first game. Second game, they obviously manhandled Western Carolina, but in Nebraska, they played really well. I was pretty happy about the offensive line, and then they just had a bad game today. There's been a lot of other groups on this offense that have been consistently bad, like the wide receiver group and the running back room. Offensive line just had a down day. So I don't think they deserve as much of like that. We've been crappy on offense this whole year. It's because of the offensive line.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the instability so far. In terms of Rame not, starting out the season game one, Wanya Morris just now kind of getting thrown into the mix. It just seems like there's a lot of instability, which is not really a hallmark of a Beanbo O-line. Usually he has his guys, and you might have a guy switched in or out, but it just seems off. Look, I agree. Like, not a good game, and they did show that they have it in them in Nebraska to play a good game. But I feel like it's just I don't know. I feel like it's something that is normally such a huge strength, to have it even be like a mediocre, middle tier, O-line that completely throws the offense out of balance.
Yeah, I think the O-line specifically, we've kind of touched on it at quarterback, and we've touched on it at receiver. I think the O-line specifically is the one position group on OU that is really suffering the most from that OU expectations versus performance. I didn't really, we had some issues blocking for the run for sure against West Virginia, which, at some point could also be credited, for West Virginia schematically, because they had a lot of safety tackles and they had a lot of, just really good play detection and stuff. But I really haven't seen, I know they haven't been, amazing, but I haven't really seen anything with the O-line that I've, we haven't had Rattler getting sacked, an egregious amount of times per game. He's had, in a lot of cases, very reasonable time consistently to develop the play and go through his progressions, which, I don't think he really does. But I feel like the O-line, there's just such a tremendous expectation at OU and such a tremendous track record, because I can't think of a time where the O-line has really struggled, even going back, over 10 years. So I really think that the O-line isn't really playing that poorly. It's more of a just OU expectations. I think the the skill positions on offense are very much playing legitimately poorly by any standards, whereas the O-line is just playing good, but it isn't up to the OU top 5 O-line standards that we're used to.
And I gotta say, I feel like a lot of the O-line play critique has come with just how awful the running game was on Saturday. Poor Kennedy Brooks and Eric Gray got Fetty whopped. Brooks had 17 yards and Eric Gray had 38. So you never want to see that. That's atrociously bad. Um, not a ton of carries. If you subtract the 9 Spencer Rattler carries, that's only, we only ran the ball 19 times. So just not great out there running. You have to establish the run. That has to be a hallmark. And I know Lincoln Riley is a little scared to use his guys because he is low on running backs, but that's just not going to cut it. We have to do better running the football.
Yeah, there's my bad.
No, you can take it. You can take it, James.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like I said earlier, if Lincoln Riley is running bubble screens on 3rd and 8 at the beginning of the second quarter, that shows you he doesn't trust Rattler to throw receivers open. If people are playing safeties high to where we can't throw the deep ball, our wide receivers aren't getting open. Yeah, we can sit here all day and say Rattler is the best quarterback in the league. We just mean in college, but he hasn't shown it yet. Let's keep on pushing it over and over the same button. It's just not going to work. We need to run the ball more, even if we are averaging 3 yards a carry in this game, because it's going to open things up. People don't believe in our run game one bit right now, and they shouldn't. So all we're going to do is keep on forcing Spencer Rattler to make these tough throws, and those tough throws are going to get tougher if we don't have a run game. So if there's one series where we run the ball 3 times and go 3 and out, I know there's going to be people frustrated. I'm going to be like, at least we tried. We need to try to establish this run game so bad to make our quarterback's life so much easier.
Yeah, and it needs to be done because I kind of feel like OU gets in this same loop. They got in the exact same loop against West Virginia as they did against Nebraska in a way. West Virginia goes on a massive touchdown run, 9 minutes. So OU's like, okay, we'll respond. We got our touchdown, whatever. But then you're kind of midway through the second quarter, and you don't get enough. You don't get enough of these of your possessions. So I wonder if Lincoln kind of gets a little trigger happy with some of this, and it's like, we need to score now, instead of taking that time and really going on these longer possessions. Which, just like in the Nebraska game, I felt like when we really settled down and, methodically drove, we weren't bad. But when we were trying to make up time, I feel like it got bad.
Yeah, I think I said it in the Nebraska recap, but there were a couple drives against West Virginia. I think it was the last drive specifically where I was sitting there going, okay, holy shit, so we can do, these things. And I did have a lot of really major issues with Lincoln Riley. In fact, we haven't discussed it yet. I haven't really heard anyone say it, but I very firmly 100% believe that we were one bad snap from losing that game. Had that West Virginia center not flown that snap way back across the 50 with like 4 or 5 minutes left, I think it is very probable that West Virginia could have stayed on the field for 2 more minutes and gotten up, and OU would have been panicking and frantic and possibly, shit the bed when it comes to recovering there. And part of that is we had just ridiculous play calling, I felt like, when it came to the offense. Like you pointed out, Bobby, there was one drive where we went 3 and out. I believe it was our first drive in the fourth quarter, maybe. I can't really recall. Where on first down, we threw like a 20-yard bomb. The receiver was pretty open enough that a quarterback of Spencer Rattler's expectations should have made the pass. He didn't. I believe it's 100% on him. And then we run essentially the same play, but to the other side of the field right back after that. and throw another incompletion that was, again, an open receiver, open enough that the pass should have been made. And then all of a sudden we're at 3rd and long, and now we have to do a long pass play. And then we get that last drive together, and we start doing, we still didn't run enough, but we start doing, 5-10 yard plays, and we drive down the field. We have excellent clock management. We set ourselves up in a perfect position. We take snaps where we can just fiddle around on the field and run the clock down. And then we run down, we do perfect timeout management, and kick a walk-off field goal to win the game. So offensively, on that last drive, we could do whatever we wanted to do. We did exactly what we wanted to do, and I feel like we could have done that all game. And sometimes I feel like you pointed out, Lincoln Riley just doesn't calm down. I think he gets in his own head, and I've pointed this out not this year, but in previous years. But this is his first head coaching job. He's still learning too. So hopefully that's something we see improvement on. But yeah, it was rough. And then I'll cut myself off after this. But the running thing, like you talked about, we want to preserve running backs, which makes a ton of sense with Kennedy Brooks and Eric Gray. And my big issue with that is I 100% agree with that. We should be preserving them. Do we not have any other running backs? Like, you're telling me we don't have anyone on the scout team? Like, these first 4 games were some of our easiest games of the year are supposed to be. We should have been, taking those just, hey, diddle straight up the middle runs and giving them to whoever our 3rd string is right now, or whoever our 4th string is right now, because we have at least 2 other running backs dressed out coming out to the games. If we're trying to preserve our main 2, why are they the only 2 that we're running, even though we're running very little? So
I think I'm really concerned that I really think the 3rd and 4th guys are really that bad. Jameson, your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Here's my thing with Lincoln's play calling. I was worried about it for the first couple weeks, and I was one to come and talk about it on the podcast. I'm saying, I don't know why he isn't doing this. I don't know why he's not doing that. Because in every single one of Lincoln Riley's offenses that we've had since we've had him, he's had something that he knows is his bread and butter and he can lean on. In this offense, he does not have a solidarity of something that he can lean on. So he's just kind of throwing a bunch of stuff out there and just hoping something sticks to the wall. I agree with you, Bobby. These are walk-on running backs, and we have kind of a sense of arrogance here at OU that if we put anyone back there, they can go and just get some. I would love to believe in Todd Hudson and Weatherman Jay, but, really, come on. We need to be playing with Eric Gray and Kennedy Brooks. We shouldn't be babying them because, a lot of people that play too conservative, they try to hold out, try to keep their chips to whenever they need them the most. And then they bust whenever they could have used a lot of their assets. We'll lose once, and we're like, I really wish we would have tried more with our running backs.
Yeah, no, being too conservative in the early parts of the season can get you there, and I'm concerned we're going down that path. Let's wrap up our offense talk with game balls, and this is a really hard one to give out because not a lot of people did great. So, sheesh. I'll just go ahead and start. I really liked Mike Woods in this game. The receivers were really, really rough, but I feel like Woods finally got the touches he needed to make an impact. And when he got those touches, he looked great. So I'll go Woods with my game ball. Led in receiving yards as well. So I thought he had a very, very good offensive game. Ty?
Yeah, so I'm going to go. Somebody might get upset at me in the podcast reviews.
Screw the reviews.
Yeah, but no, I don't care. I'm going to go. Again, I don't remember if I've gone him this year, but I've certainly discussed him time and time again on the podcast. I saw really nothing redeemable offensively from OU outside of Drake Stoops literally dying for 1-yard receptions. I think he only had 3 actual receptions. He had a few more targets that weren't on him. But yeah, Drake Stoops, again, I feel like he's the only one offensively that is really going out there and giving 100%, also being fully focused. I don't doubt that everyone else is going out there and, giving a ton of effort. But I really feel like some of our people, I'm not going to mention names anymore, offensively aren't really, doing their all. And I know Drake Stoops isn't our leading receiver, but as I've said before, he probably shouldn't be a starter on a top 10 team at all. And he is. And he's out there just grinding, play in and play out. Dude's 5'9", 190. And he's out here dying against double, triple coverage for whatever he can, whether it's a block or whether it's a 1 yard reception play or some of his bigger ones. So, yeah, give me Drake Stoops.
Okay. I like it. He's always very gritty. Jameson, who do you got?
It's Mike Woods. There's no doubt about it. He is a positive in this game. And out of all of the wide receivers this season, I hadn't seen many get open on a deep route. He was one this game where he was open and Spencer underthrew him. Mike had a clear cut, just outran the guy, out athlete. And that was that same drive you were talking about, Ty, where we did 2 deep balls. But that first down should have been a touchdown. You throw that in front of him. You threw it behind him, and still Mike had a chance for the ball. But yeah, whenever you get 8 catches and 86 yards and our offense was just extinct where we barely even cracked the 300-yard mark, I think that's the clear-cut choice.
I think that makes us a perfect 3 for 3 on games that actually matter, where Mike Woods was wide open and he didn't get the ball thrown to him.
Yeah, it's because Spencer keys in on his wide receivers. We talked about it a lot. Like that goal line one versus Western Carolina was the most egregious of them all, because it's not just like you have a play call, and there's like, some specified route where that's your first read, and then maybe Mike Woods was the third read and you just didn't get there. That's one thing. The other is there's no one being lined up in front of you and you don't even look. So Spencer, that is the smoking gun of Spencer keys in on guys.
Yep, Mike Woods deserves better. That is for sure. And I don't know. I wonder if he just looks at Arkansas sometimes. Like the Wolverine meme where he's looking at a picture frame. But
not yet.
Look, Mike Woods. Here. I'm going to drop a little. I don't even know if this is a hot take. I think we're going to optimistic Bobby here. I think Mike Woods is going to get the ball some, and we're just one like Spencer Rattler realizing Mike Woods is really good away from this guy being like insanely good. That could turn around the offense right there. Actually unlocking Mike Woods, because it's there. You just got to get the ball to the guy. So
I will say before we move on, I think he's in a great position, because I think Hazelwood is sort of highlighted himself as probably our WR1. And at college, or at the college level, a lot of the time you don't really have a complete secondary core. Some obviously teams like Bama are going to have, they're just fielding world-class secondary guys. But a lot of the teams we face might have one, really good cornerback, one really good safety, and then some okay guys, which results in this really interesting scenario where your WR1 is going to get the best matchup, obviously, and it creates a lot of opportunity if you have a second good receiver, because teams are, I think, at the college level more likely to have 2 good receivers than an opposing team is to have 2 really good cornerbacks. So, yeah, for sure, a guy that maybe statistically is underperformed is definitely right on the cusp of having a breakout year, I believe.
Definitely, and let's hope it happens, because dang it, I'm tired of having these podcasts where we're all stressed out about these close games. But let's move on to the defense. Now, other than that first drive, the defense, I feel like, was absolutely immaculate in this game. Only 13 points given up, and, obviously 2 field goals. That just happens. But in general, I thought the D put out a very, very, very good performance outside of that first drive, which, once again went on forever. Jameson, your thoughts on the defense and this new kind of, grinded out play style?
Yeah, they looked really good for what they had to do. I feel like a lot of the moments where we were frustrated, where we couldn't get off the field in 3rd and 4th downs, we did really well on 3rd down and 4th down, and then just moments where we just wanted a drive to end, they just dinked down the field versus us, is because I saw a lot of zone. I don't know if y'all saw this as well, but I saw a lot of zone where the slant was just killing us over and over and over. That slant, we'd have our cornerback, playing the flat, and then the middle of the field was, just in between safety and linebacker territory, and they're just killing us right there. It's because right now, without Woody Washington, we're worried about our D-backs. It was nice to have Billy Bowman back. He looked good. But whenever you're having to kind of baby one side or one position of your defense, it does open up weak spots in it. So that's the one bad thing to say about it. I don't want to end my talk on a bad thing because we have too many good things to say about it. Nick Benito, I say this every pod, he legitimately looks like an edge guy who can go to the NFL and be that tear. He's looking like, I'm not comparing him to these guys, but say like a Joey Bosa coming off the edge for the Chargers. I know that's a bad comparison, but they play the same position. Where just every single play, he's going to squeeze by and pressure the quarterback. I just think that's been really good. And Delarian Turniel, before he got hurt, looked amazing as well with open field tackling.
Yeah, no, agreed. And Turniel also had that interception as well. And Benito, even though, like, if you look at the stat sheet, it doesn't look like he really did much. Just his presence affects this game, I feel like. And that is something that, is very impressive, I feel like. Because again, he only appears on the stat sheet once with tackles quarterback rushes. But I feel like he just does a really good job of just being there. And again, that's the problem with the defense is we have everyone rushing, and we have half the offense, trying to rush, trying to create pressure, trying to do all that speed D stuff we love to talk about, and then we are overcompensating on the back end, so we don't get beat deep, which leaves those tasty slants, like it's NCAA 14. That's just kind of something you have to live with, which sucks. But I don't know, that's something that needs to get figured out pretty quick. Ty, your thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, so I mean, the first point to make is you shouldn't really have a whole lot to complain about when you hold a team to 13 points. So, flat out. But I do think West Virginia most probably would have scored at least 20, like I discussed earlier in the podcast, had they not had that just atrocious, completely momentum-killing snap. And there were several plays with just absolutely blown coverage.
False start to interrupt you, but false start on the 1 yard line, a drop touchdown pass too for that point. Before that.
Yeah. So, and then, if you, whether it be, like I said, blown coverage, whether it be schematic or just players getting beat, there were several plays that would have been first downs. If you go back, especially in the second half, where West Virginia's quarterback just could not throw an accurate pass. And I don't know if that was maybe a pressure thing. I'm not recalling off the top of my head, but there were certainly much more opportunities. I think you could make a fair argument, and I'm sure if you went and listened to some West Virginia fan content this week, I think you would hear some very fair, very reasonable arguments that West Virginia lost this game. OU didn't win it. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with any of them, but to just round it out again, if you hold a team to 13 points, no matter how it occurs, and you force a turnover, that's not a whole lot to complain about. So I think one of our better performances, but also it's West Virginia. So,
yeah, I will say they did a good job of keeping Letty Brown in check. Not a very good game on the ground for him. Only, I believe, 51 yards. 56 yards. He did have that long of 20. So other than that, they didn't really do much at all on the ground. But Jared Dagey, pretty efficient game for him. 20 for 29 for 160 yards and a really atrocious pick, I will say. But in general, that's just it. It's a good performance, but it's not. Not exactly something to be super excited about, but the defense definitely is the reason why we won this, why we won this game, and why we stayed in it. So, shout out to them. But just, I guess, very quickly, defensive game balls. Jameson?
This is tough for me. If Turner Yell played the whole game, I think it's no doubt him. It's easy to go to the stats and look at tackles and look how many solo tackles he got. He was a safety. No, but this guy was coming up and he was breaking up, screen balls whenever it was just him and nobody else in 10 yards. Those were big time plays. And he got the interception. I understand that wasn't too much of a crazy play. But even with him playing just around, 2.5 quarters, I kind of have to give it to him. He just played that well. He just popped off the page. And when he did play, we were playing some of our best defense at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to give it to him. I feel like, giving it to him is something that is a totally okay thing to do because I think he's a good player. I don't know how to do that bit. But yeah, it's hard not to pick Turner Yell because he was the splashiest player on the field. But, I don't know. It's tough. I think I'm going to give it to... I don't know. This is tough. Let's just go with let's just
I'll give you some time to
man.
think here. Let me talk about Turner Yell.
Yeah.
Turner Yell has an ankle injury right now, but it looks like it was pretty minor, and he should be good to go for next game. Have you thought of anything? Or let's kick it to Ty. Ty, do you got something?
You go for it. I'm sorry, I break it down here.
Yeah, no. Mine. I think we all knew where this was going to go. Mine has to be DTY because I had that other one that was called out as a cold take earlier when, not to point the finger at myself, but maybe not. I did do what Jameson just described and pull up ESPN and just look at who had the most solo tackles as a safety. But this game, he certainly performed. And then, I don't want to say this and make it sound wrong, but thank goodness he was injured before he could blow it because we all know he would have blown something in that game and ruined our ideas of him being a competent defender. So, yeah, thank goodness that he's not permanently injured.
What does that even mean?
I don't even
Well, it's like had he not been injured, most likely he would have just egregiously blown a play later on in the game. And then when I gave him the game ball later, someone would have called me a moron for picking him.
I'm also gonna go with Delarrin Turner Yell.
Of course he didn't.
Of course he didn't. He didn't. Unlike other games where he had a game-saving tackle, a yard short, or the same game he led the game in tackles. He didn't do any of that, but he did play very well. So where some might call that a disappointing performance or the reason the defense was bad, I would say it was pretty solid. So.
Disappointing performance from Bobby tonight.
Very disappointing.
Let's just move on.
We were so negative OU fans that whenever it finally comes down to talk about something positive, we're like, I don't really know who I can give the game ball to, but I sure as hell know I can take away a game ball from.
Yeah, we're at this point we're just.
I missed my chance to give my offensive game ball to Caleb Williams.
Literally, we wanted to give him a game ball.
Oh God, I also got to give a shout out to Gabe Burkich for nailing the game winner. That was cold as hell. Just did not give a shit. Booted it right through the middle, which is exactly
all 29 yards of it. Let's give Spencer a little bit of, he led at a 90 something close, and maybe a little less than 90-yard drive from our 8-yard line or something to get us into that position. He showed up whenever he needed to, so that's something that you needed. He's putting us in the W column rather than into overtime.
80 yards, 6 for 6.
This discussion is never going to die unless we just cut it. But if he could throw the deep ball, we wouldn't have been in that position, period. If he could complete a pass longer than 15 yards of airtime, we wouldn't have been tied at, however many seconds left anyways. So, yeah, he recovered what he messed up.
Mm-hmm. He needs some help, though.
I do love Gabe Burkick before we move on to Kansas State. I honestly feel, knowing him, that he would not have cared had he made it or not. He just would have reacted exactly the same and moved on about his life. Dude is ice cold.
Bobby, what was in your background there? Was it like a wire?
Okay, yeah, there was a wire. I was just informed by our good friend Michael Whitman that it looked like a poorly drawn penis.
I've been looking at it and I've been wanting to make a wiener joke the whole time. How this? I'm like, what is that?
It's a shadow of this projector in my new house, and it was making a shadow that looked like a dong.
I was like, did someone draw on his new walls a wiener?
I mean, that would have been a pretty good prank, so I will say. But yeah, no.
That's legitimately, my eyes have been locked on that for the past 45 minutes.
Just love staring at that, man. It's all good. Okay, let's move on to actually preview the damn team we're playing coming up. Um, we talked with that last game. We had a lot to talk about though, so I don't feel bad spending 45 minutes on it. But let's talk about Kansas State. Obviously, this is a game that makes me a little nervous. We've lost to them the past 2 years after blowing leads, and I don't know. Am I irrational to be a little spooked about this? Because I know they didn't look impressive last week against Oklahoma State, but I don't know. I feel like Skylar Thompson's going to come out there, hobbling around like the Fresno State quarterback and drop 400 yards on us, and then I don't know, evaporate into dust like he's Luke Skywalker or something. So yeah, no, I'm a little shook. I'm a little scared. Jameson, do you have any? What are your thoughts on K State?
I don't know because they benched Will Howard, so anything is possible. They brought in Jaron Lewis, who threw an interception, had a touchdown. I'm looking at the stats right now. But since they just benched Will Howard, yeah, I'm back to being scared now. I would like to see Will Howard in that backfield. The way they played versus Oklahoma State just did not sit well with me. I really thought that they could have kept it way closer, and I don't think Oklahoma State's offense was much to talk about. If you're talking about non-multifaceted offenses, Oklahoma State's having a very similar problem in Stillwater. Yes, they are also undefeated, and they're happy to be there, but there's a lot of things to be concerned about. The one thing that's different is they found a running back who they can hand the ball off and get them 100-plus yards and play really well. So they do have that going for them. But Spencer Sanders being disappointing absolutely has been a problem for them. Maybe 31 points from Oklahoma State means, oh, yeah, maybe Spencer Rattler can go out there and do what Spencer Sanders did, throw for 300-plus yards and a couple touchdowns this game, in a game that we should show up for.
Well, and here's how inept OSU's offense is. They have not scored a single point in their past 2 second halves. 0 against K-State, 0 against Boise. So something's wrong if you can't score. Just K-State, what are you doing? It was not a good performance for them at all. Obviously, Will Howard, atrocious 4 for 12, deserved to get benched, had a QBR of 13, which is just the other guy, the guy who replaced him, Jared Lewis, had a QBR of 25. So let's not act like he was, Peyton Manning or anything. But, for a team that runs, that is supposed to be very heavy, running, like that's the only thing they do. Deuce Vaughn only had 22 yards on 13 carries in a long of 7. So I don't really know what to say here about them because they're kind of a mess right now. But at the same time, how could you not be afraid of K-State after the past 2 years? Ty?
Yeah, OU has never beat Kansas State with me as a student. So worried about that because we're going into a game where I'm a student at OU, which is unfortunate. And yeah, it's just I don't know at this point. I would have been really confident in this game, even if just we had played well against West Virginia, even excluding our previous 2 good wins. So I really don't. Anything is possible at this point. I think Kansas State is a better team than West Virginia. We're having to go to Manhattan, which isn't necessarily a tough place to play, but it's our first away game of the season, which is always going to be, a factor. So I really
maybe it might be positive for an away game. Honestly, like I said earlier in the podcast, it might be great for the team to get away from Norman, go play on the road, and not have to worry about all of this fan drama. And I think that's key. And it's going to be so critical to see how Spencer responds in this game. Now, I'm not talking stat line. I'm talking like body language, how he's doing on the sideline, talking to his teammates, and if he's throwing into balls or if he's not just scrambling all over the place and worried. He's comfortable and he's making the right play at the right time. That is a huge story with this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think a change of pace is definitely needed. And, if they can just focus on this game and just focus on winning and winning as impressively as they can, on the road. That this is a type of game that can, get you right, get you bonded. Because honestly, there shouldn't be a single player, coach, or staff member who thinks this is going to be an easy win by any measure. If there is a single amount of arrogance, a single amount of like, I don't know, bravado that, oh, this is just Kansas State. I don't even know what to say after the past few years. But this is a game. Look, if you have the opportunity, drive them into the damn ground and burn the cornfields down, burn down the wheat, and leave Manhattan a smoldering pile of ash. That is what you need to do in this game. This is the opportunity presented to you, and I think it's something I still kind of think they're capable of it. But the biggest thing is if they do get out to a big lead, they have to keep the foot on the gas and just keep going, because they have no reason to even think that they have that they're better than not giving full effort on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that one positive thing, if you really want to turn it here, is there is a fire and a chip on our players' shoulder right now with how the fans reacted in the We Want Caleb chants. A lot of the players took to social media and saying this ain't right. And if I'm them, now the fan is my enemy. I want to prove them wrong so hard. I understand this is who we play for. We want to make y'all happy and we need the fans. But if I'm a player out there, I am playing even harder than I had before, even with a team that I've lost the past 2 years before, because I want to change the narrative so bad. Any kind of competitor, no matter who you are, if there's some kind of disrespect towards you and someone's doubting you, oh man, chips on your shoulder are one of the most powerful motivators in all of the world. And I think we should see that. And I think the defense is going to play for Spencer and with that chip. And I think that Spencer should go out there and prove himself.
Are we the first team to provide bulletin board material from our own fans?
No, we're not the first team.
No, not even close.
Hey, I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Go to any message board or, just Facebook comments and, conjure some stuff up. I'm not saying like it hasn't been out there before, but it's on a level that is very public and not like kind of scrounged away in the weird dark parts of the internet like it usually is. Ty, your thoughts on OU responding big?
Yeah, I think we have to, especially. I haven't heard anyone else say this, but when we barely squeak by teams that are by any reasonable metric, and I all respect to these teams because I think we're barely better than them right now. But when we barely squeak by teams that aren't good, our Western Carolina 76-0 win goes from being, oh yeah, this is a good team, they can put it together, of course they're going to blow that team out, to just us looking like bullies for no reason, right? Like beating up on Western Carolina, not letting them score, keeping the gas on them for 4 quarters is, when your team is playing garbage and you're trying to recover from a struggle at the start is one thing if you turn out to actually be a good team. But at this point, it's almost a coin flip for Kansas State, because Kansas State obviously has our number game planning wise. They beat us the past 2 years in teams that were much better than this team. For sure, and much more complete teams than this team for sure. So Kansas State, regardless of OU's performance this year, obviously has our number as of right now. So like you talked about, Bobby, there shouldn't be any arrogance from OU. This is not the the number 6 team going into an unranked team that they should beat up on. This is not the 6-time conference champions going into a place in their conference that they should beat up on. This is a team that has not beat, this team in 3 years. We're the underdogs of this game, and hopefully we understand that. I don't have super high hopes for us to be able to respond, because whether the players are angry or not, at this point, I'm starting to believe that maybe they're just not. Maybe there was just significant amount of overhype on several positions that have all kind of come together as a perfect storm. So whether they want to respond or not, who knows? But yeah, it's certainly a coin flip. I will say that this game included, if we don't respond to everything, if we don't respond to the fan comments, if we don't respond to the media comments, if we don't respond to our own play, counting this Kansas State game, I would not be surprised if this OU game or this OU team ends the season with 5 losses, not counting a presumed very garbage bowl game. So, you guys can sit down with a schedule and sort of do the math there. It does not involve a loss to the Bean Man. But yeah, we definitely need to put something together because Kansas State, although they're currently unranked, I do think it's not unreasonable to say that they are the best team that we have faced thus far or will be. So
I think
we'll see how that pans out. We'll see how that specific take pans out as they go and play West Virginia later. But
yeah, no, I think that's completely fair. All right, before we wrap this thing up, Jameson, I know you want to take a trip to the Cruden Corner. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll hit the music.
David.
Yes?
What is this, David?
This is a
Cruden Corner with Jamison.
Everybody dancing.
Oh, that's nice.
The big story out of this weekend is, were the boos and the "We Want Caleb" chants going to really turn off the recruits? And they're still yet to figure out. But we had some pretty big targets. And, Chris McClellan, I've mentioned him, the defensive tackle, top 50 player out of Owasso, Oklahoma, that were in his top group, but probably not leading, with Florida being a big time leader for McClellan, was there. Marvin Jones Jr., it's not Marvin Jones Jr. of Jacksonville, but he is from Florida. He's an edge rusher, and he's a very highly regarded prospect, top 100 prospect, maybe even top 50 in the country, was there as well. And it's a guy that we've been in on a while, and he's on the fence of considering OU. And then Cam Dewberry, that offensive tackle out of Texas, it's a 5-star, was there. These are a lot of big time recruits. And how did how did they take this? So we saw Cam Dewberry take to Twitter and send the little emoji of the one eyebrow up, kind of like grimace emoji, to the fan-sided video of the "We Want Caleb" that a lot of our athletes took to. And everyone was freaking out, posting screenshots. This is why you don't do this, because it looks negative. What positive are you doing to that? You're just drunk and you think you know something, and you don't know more than Lincoln. So let him do his job. So did that negatively impact him? I think that they thought about it, but you damn well sure know that the coaching staff went out and said, hey, yeah, they booed it, but it shows how much that, our fans care, and it shows you that you have a very high expectation here at Oklahoma to come and perform. And especially for the defensive recruits. You see how well our defense played. Old OU, with the way that we played on offense this game, would not have been here. But look at us winning games because of our defense. So if you're worried about this negative recruiting that OU is probably still getting, about we're just an offensive school that doesn't have anything defensive, that is exhibit A to where defensive players should feel good moving forward, coming into this team and not trying to be a second fiddle to the offense. No, we are now going to be respected on the defensive side of the ball. Marvin Jones Jr. visit did go well. Allegedly, his according to TFB, that his mom likes OU a lot, and if his mom had a decision, he'd come here. But it's another name to throw into the hat of people that are interested to come on, that are very, very good prospects, and that will come down to the end with it. So another name to realize, but keep an eye on Cam Dewberry because that emoji did say a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It was not great, but there's still a lot to recover from. Let's be honest. One singular chant, I would hope, wouldn't ruin a recruiting deal, but you never know. You never know with these kids. So, all right, Jameson.
They've been so much flakier. These kids are so flaky, obviously, because they're 17 years old and they're getting everything thrown at them, and there's some real hard cash that's actually legitimate now with, name, image, likeness, that it's not a McDonald's bag anymore. This is a legitimate job interview that they're going through, and any little detail can turn somebody off.
Jeremy Pruitt was so close, man. So close.
He was. He had so many good players at Tennessee, and it just makes too much sense. But it's just fine. As long as they pay him through the door, we can take all the scraps afterwards. But yeah, it was a big time weekend for recruiting, and I don't know about y'all, but I know the coaching staff is probably excited to take a break from hosting kids for they didn't host for Tulane, but they kind of did because they were on campus and they were probably, video zooming them, aside from the fact, because even though it was here, we could not actually see them in person because it was viewed as an away game. But we have been treating these past 4 games as visits for everyone who could come to the game. And I'm sure that is absolutely exhausting. Let's hit to the road. Let's get K-State under us, and then we'll talk about Texas after that.
Yeah, I think we're all ready for a break. I know even the tailgaters are tired. The pep was not there on Friday and Saturday. Everyone just kind of going through the motions. We're all tired out here. But yeah.
Spoiled that we're getting night games too. But like you said, Bobby, 2:30 kickoff with K-State, the golden hour of all things college football. You could sleep in and not have to worry about, getting up and getting ready or getting a parking spot or pre-gaming and getting your nice buzz before the game. You can sleep in, watch College Game Day as you start your buzz on, or do whatever you want to do. Get in the position that you need to. You can do something productive before the game if you want to. And then afterwards, you don't have to worry about getting dinner at the game. You can go out to eat afterwards, which is a great segment. Great segment for people that watch the game. You've been drinking some beers during it, and you're just there's a lot that, like you said, after the game, you're just blah, I don't want to do anything. But at 2:30, you go to dinner. That is a great bridge towards the rest of your Saturday night.
Oh yeah, it's the perfect springboard. You can watch a little, the 6 o'clock games, do whatever you want afterwards. It's really perfect. Don't have to wait too long. It's pretty great. Ty, what's your final thoughts on this episode before we wrap things up?
Yeah, final thoughts, kind of recruiting related. Hopefully the recruits that we had visiting are smart enough to realize that no OU Heisman winner has ever been booted home. No OU number 1 overall draft pick has ever been booted home. So if you play to the expectations that you're supposed to live up to, booing or chants at home should not be a detriment or something that turns you off whatsoever. If you're worried that you're not going to play the expectations and that you're going to have 85,000 Oklahomans and Texans booing you, then good, because we don't want to have to boo any more of our own players. So live up to the hype and you won't get booed.
I'm not laughing at what you're saying. I just now realized, please tell me, Ty, did you put blue tape?
Yeah, we no free advertising. We are sponsored. I've yet to see a single dollar, but allegedly, you know what? I will say. Do you ever think about the fact, Jameson, that we are now literally sponsored by DraftKings as a podcast? We're one of the not very many college football podcasts that are sponsored by DraftKings. Have you seen a single dollar of this advertisement money, Jameson?
No, we're still waiting on the first
No.
page.
But here's what I'm saying, Jameson. You haven't seen a single dollar. I haven't seen a single dollar. Bobby's the one that talks to our bosses. Bobby just bought a new house out of nowhere.
Yes, DraftKings definitely.
I'm starting to piece this stuff together because I'm getting really, really suspicious about the fact that we have a major sponsorship and $0. And Bobby's over here just got himself a house. It looks like he just got a nice haircut too. He's got his hair slicked back. He's got that leather couch he's sitting on. I'm not familiar with. That's probably
a new puppy, a new purebred puppy corgi.
Yeah.
Hey, Rosie came along before the dollars. That's back when they were doing anchor.
That was the anchor money.
Anchor money.
So there are dollars.
I'll give it out. Bobby did buy us some nice mics with part anchor money. That was very generous of him. But yeah, very suspicious, Bobby. Just letting you know that I believe that we haven't had as many viewers to get us to house money But if you're withholding our viewers as well, maybe you have a very large following in like Uzbekistan or something that I don't know about. Well, I don't know why the Uzbekistani would like me, but
We've had literally one podcast sponsored by DraftKings, and immediately everyone's trying to
And immediately you bought a house. What do you mean?
Hey, if you want your boy Jameson to buy a house, how about y'all go into DraftKings, start your new account with it, and enter the promo code TPPN for the Pigskin Podcast Network. Get some money in our pockets, and maybe you can get some money in yours as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm just saying, make some DraftKings fantasy lineups if you're in Oklahoma. You can do college football DraftKings as well. So, I don't know. Maybe you think there's a big Spencer Rattler bounce back. You want to spend all of your allotted money on that. Go for it.
Don't do that.
Do not do that. But yeah, no. Sign up. Promo code TPPN to start today. And thank you as always to DraftKings for sponsoring this very first Schooner pod they've sponsored. So love it. All right, Jameson, Ty, always fun talking with you. Hopefully there's an exciting game we can talk about where we actually win and there's some sort of energy
When we actually win.
other than us complaining. But I don't know. We're still undefeated. We march on. This is a much better start than last year where we were immediately dead. All right. Thank you all so much for listening. As always, make sure to check out the weekend spread coming out on Thursday morning. And also, of course, got to check out the YouTube channel. This is where you can see all of these visually, all of our little visual gags that you might completely miss. You can see all of those streams right there, as well as Football Feast, a series where I make a signature dish from each of our visiting opponents. No new one this week because we were on the road, but you can still catch the backlogs, including me completely destroy a poor Runza. That was great stuff. And then, of course, the Schooner simulation, produced, narrated, all of it by our wonderful friend Michael Whitman. Does an excellent job. That should be up as the week progresses. So definitely check those out. It's one of the. It's honestly probably some of the best content we put out. I love watching them every week. So tune in for that. Just gotta hit that subscribe for sure. So all right, and then we also do a little bit of a Scrappy Dogs contest with Blake that we dropped. So take a look at that too. We got a lot of content. Just go to the YouTube. Gonna push that a little bit more as the season progresses. But all right, that's enough for me. For me, Jameson and Ty, this has been the Schooner Pod presented by DraftKings and the Pigskin Podcast Network. We will talk to you all later, and hopefully are still undefeated because it's getting stressful. Folks. Getting stressful. So y'all have a good weekend. Good luck. Boomer Sooner.